Good morning, guys. Welcome to September. Just getting started up, so we'll give people a few minutes here. We'll share out the screen. There we go. How's everybody doing? Long weekend? Kids back to school if they haven't been already? Let's go chat. There we go, so I can see you guys. You guys should be able to see my screen. Let me know if you can't. Dave is running a few minutes late. He's on a call, so we'll hold the fort down while he joins up, and everybody's joining in here. Hey, good morning, Mike. Good morning, Alexander. Good to see you. Morning, Asham. Hope all's well over there. How'd you guys do with your break from the trading room for a couple weeks? Or did you miss me? Just kidding. Been quiet? The trip was absolutely fantastic. For anybody that hasn't been, good morning, Voltaire. Been to the Rockies before. This time we went to the Canadian Rockies as well. So we saw 5 national parks on the trip. Glacier, obviously, here in the States. Then there was 4 other national parks we actually hit up in Canada. And the Canadian Rockies are unbelievable. If anybody ever gets a chance, I highly recommend it. Good morning, John. I sent out a few pictures in the recent emails. That's my new background now. So there's the one. This is a fantastic shot I took. We just drove up this road. Then we went up a couple little switchbacks. So there's not a lot of switchbacks, actually. I was really surprised. But that was one of the views that we had. That's, if I remember right, that's right on the border of Jasper National Park and Banff National Park up in Canada. Highly, highly worth it. Thanks. Yeah, it's amazing with some of the cameras now these days, the shots you can get. That was just taken with my phone. And we brought the big camera with, but half the time we get better shots with our phones. Topped off the coffee. We're good to go there. All right, we're a few minutes in. We can definitely we can at least cover the VA trade. Anybody take that this morning? We had a nice down bias on it. Triple screens we got up here, the 4-hour, 5-minute, and the 1-minute. I got it set up so you can't see what happened for those that didn't look yet. So we definitely had a continuation setup in addition to our down bias. I believe Dave's percentage was slight pop up based on the drawing here of the 1 minute. Did have a down slope. So we're expecting the slight up around the open, but then the down for the trade. So it was 75 down, 25% of probabilities for movement. And then obviously the continuation helps with that. So as the clock grew close, it did not disappoint, and both the 1 and the 5 were both in agreement. 1 minute there was a slight hesitation there right around the open, didn't move a whole lot at all. Good morning, Shankar. But then right after that, we saw everything did come into play. And this was a really nice move, actually. We had this up 0.27 here, looking at the ARB oscillator for our profit and loss. And then the second 5 minutes is another 2.7. So over a 0.5% move in the first 10 minutes of the open this morning. And we saw that definitely piercing both the 5-minute and the 1 minute fifth column levels. Good signals to exit anytime along the way whenever you hit your profit goals. And then the rest of the day, you do whatever you want. It's kind of went back and forth. Now it's recovering, but everything was set up right around the open, though. So, yeah, it looked great. John, 250 contract. Well done, sir. Love it. Anybody else get in on that action or either side of it? Obviously, you won't be taking the long side because everything was set up for the short, but yeah, well done, John. Sham says, just find the personal experience and VA trades don't always work out, but I guess patience is the name of the game to wait for the correct and high probability. That's absolutely right. The higher probability, like we used to call the cherry pick days, for sure. The nice 75% for the down move, then seeing the confirmation after the first minute there, everything coming down. Absolutely. Let's see, I got a private chat. Okay, yep, no problem. I'll hit you up offline. Voltaire took the reverse for another 60 on the micros after when it started coming back the other way, or when did you take the other side, Voltaire? Gotcha. So maybe somewhere around, looking at the 5 minute, anywhere in here, maybe part of it, or this is a really large move. That's kind of happened there. 940. Okay. So that's 840 for me. So yep, you got right at the other side. Yeah, not a bad idea. As long as you're managing your money properly, which is always the name of the game. Because yeah, very often we do see once it gets through these fifth column levels, it does have a tendency to reverse and go back, just like we see on the 5 minute chart here, which it's doing. As I hold it over there, there's a 0.22 move back to the upside. So yeah, there's multiple opportunities here. And I'm trying to remember who sent the email. I did see an email that I was catching up with, and I'm sorry if I haven't got back to anybody with the time off. I am playing catch up in the emails. But someone did notice they took a trade and it went against them, but they weren't there to manage it. But when they came back later at the end of the day, they noticed it had come back. Very similar to what's happening here. And that is the notion of the VA trade in general. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen every day, but it is the notion of how this oscillates, right? If we look at the 4 hour, the oscillators coming up, going down. And on the daily charts, let me pull over the daily. Exact same thing, which is how we, look at our biases, right? Where we are on the bell curve, and then taking into account the new script. So yeah, it's very common for a move to happen. If for some reason you got in this long and you were just completely wrong, yeah, the nature is you can wait and it will return for you. Again, I'm not saying it's going to happen every time at this exact same day, but depending on where you are here in the daily chart of the bell curve, yeah, it's very possible that it will come back. You just have to be patient. And the downside of that is it takes you out of trade abilities for whatever contract you're in there. If you're in the full contracts and or the micros, where you couldn't trade again the next day, say you were long and you were waiting for it to come back. So that is the downside of when you're wrong. Yeah, you can wait, but it takes a long time, potentially. Sham asked, do you know if Dave is still working on optimizing entry signals for the VA trade? I haven't heard recently. Dave and I haven't touched back in base since I've been back in connection range. So we'll definitely check with it. I know there was a few new things released that I haven't even loaded up in the meantime that I'm looking at getting going this week as I get back into the swing of things myself. I like being able to, when I take my vacations, I don't have any positions on. So I just look at it as, hey, here's a couple weeks away from my business. I make it on the other months. And this is basically, the last half of August I had it off. Just able to not worry and enjoy where we're going. So I didn't have any positions on over my couple weeks away. And I was glad I didn't, because I literally had like 2 shots where I had a decent connection. There was one campground that actually paid good money and we got a good internet connection for a while. That's when I shot out the one email. And then after that, it was very sporadic. Like even the campgrounds that said, yeah, we got Wi-Fi, it worked close to the office and nowhere near in the campground. At least that was my experience. So make it a real vacation and actually disconnected. So that was kind of nice. And good morning, Dave. I see you're in the room.
Yes, good morning. Very apologetic for being late.
No worries. We just covered the VA trade and had you guys grab some profits there. And wasn't Voltaire even grabbed some on the upside on the reverse. So Sean was just asking if I knew, and that's where I was just kind of updating as I'm not up to speed on everything yet since I was away and I took it for real vacation and disconnected. If there was any new signals you were working on for VA, I wasn't sure if anything had changed on that in the meantime.
Nope, that is my very next project. Though we had quite a bit of work to do on the new dashboard for market timers. So now that that's kind of complete, though we're adding additional functionality to that. As soon as that's done, though, we're going to be working on the new VA signals.
Gotcha. Very nice. Very nice.
Yep, for sure. Man, I'm glad you're back.
It's good to be back. It's always it's bittersweet where it's nice to be away. It's like, well, what am I missing? And then I come back and I'm like, holy cow, I got a lot to catch up on.
Yeah, things happen very, very quickly in the last couple of weeks. And, man, it is just a lot. We're going to cover some of that this morning. Good morning, Shakar. How are you? We missed the duo.
Well, we're back in action, so here we go.
Yeah, for sure. So you covered the VA trade. That was a good trade this morning. Continuation on the 4-hour. Didn't get much of a bump on the 1 minute, but we certainly did see it right at the open drop.
Yeah, it was mostly just basically it was a lot of just a hesitation there. That's kind of what I covered, and then it took off.
Yep. Good morning, Andre. Good to see you guys. So yeah, I mean, tons of stuff, man. Now that you're super relaxed and you're like chilling and you're getting back into the swing of things, I'll give you the bad news. We're probably going to see negative interest rates in the United States. This has been a story that's been developing. I think we touched on it a little bit before you left, but I think things are really starting to heat up here.
Yeah, we definitely talked about it and had some of the conversations where they were saying there's nothing standing in the way, that we could definitely see it. But yeah, absolutely. I'll move these guys over here.
Yeah. Well, here's the big deal with Asham. Here's the big deal with negative interest rates, that they're already starting to. There's a few countries that are already in negative interest rates. Switzerland is the biggest one. Japan, Denmark, I think the Netherlands, and Germany is at officially zero rates, I believe, but they just issued a 10-year bond at negative rates. A negative interest rate on a 10-year bond. And actually, if you can pull up a window, I'm going to share with you guys a great website that I follow a lot. It's called Trading Economics. If you can
pull it up here.
Yes, tradingeconomics.com.
Get that dialed in. Dun, 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 dun. Turn this off.
Markets are loving these trade tariffs, I mean, they just love it. I think they're like ecstatic.
Tradingeconomics.com, is this the one you're looking for?
Yep. Great website. If you guys haven't seen it before, I kind of log in just to kind of review stuff every single day. They do have a lot of good articles, but if you scroll down, you'll see the countries and the GDP to debt ratios, and you can click on those headers to get them sorted.
Gotcha.
Yep. And so if you go way over to debt to GDP, which is kind of interesting, as you get these, get Japan, look at that, 238% debt to GDP. It's interesting, Singapore, which I had always thought, and I had assumed that it was one of the most well-managed financially countries in the world, is at 112%. Interesting. Italy, of course, we know. I mean, you can't get away from the news about Italy. Italy is always having problems, always trying to restructure their debt. But Japan is higher than Italy as far as debt to GDP. And the United States is now over 100%. So very, very interesting. Now let me just pull mine up because there's a link to interest rates. If you go to markets, I believe, where is that? Where did I see that?
Indicators, markets, forecasts.
You want to go to interest rate country list. How do you get to that from there? Here, I'm going to put the link in the chat because I don't see a direct, maybe interest rate by country list. Yeah, I put the link in the chat there. You can just click on that. There you go. Okay. Click on last, which will give you the current interest rates. There you go. So you got Switzerland. Now this is the official central bank rates. So, and they're updated monthly. Some of them haven't updated since July. Most of them are August. A lot of them are September if they've changed. So when they change, they update this list. This is the last known rate by the central bank of that country. Switzerland is right at the top of the list at -0.75%. Denmark -0.65, Sweden, Japan. Now, you can see from Spain all the way down to Austria, I believe.
Yep.
Have 0 interest rates. And if we get any type of recession at all, they're going to go negative almost immediately. Now, way down at the bottom of the list is Argentina, which is at 85%. Now, if you want someplace to put your money, no, please don't put your money in Argentina. Don't do that. In fact, there was a news article out yesterday. They now have currency controls in Argentina. And what that means is that you are only allowed a certain amount of currency to hold.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's scary, huh?
How weird would that be? You can only have so much money, sir.
Yep. So there was a picture. I retweeted this thing on Twitter, and there's a picture of a huge line outside of a bank in Argentina, and they're all there getting their daily allotment of currency, almost like bread lines in the Great Depression.
Wow.
So yeah, very, very scary there. And I'm actually kind of surprised that they have a higher interest rate than Venezuela. Wow. But anyway, nice website. If you guys don't know about it, this is a pretty cool place to kind of get some recent data, a good calendar of different events happening in the trading space. Yep, really, really good stuff there. Different for calendars, really basically for the entire world. You can go there and just about get anything that you need.
Very nice.
Yep. So how's everybody doing? How many we got in the room here?
Oh, about a dozen.
Nice.
That's why I was curious to see how many people we get back on our first day back, if they forgot about me or not. So I'm glad to see you guys remembered. Appreciate you.
Yeah, very much. So where is this whole negative interest rate thing going? There's a lot of things I think that are really, really important to keep an eye on. It depends on, what your current situation is, but my personal opinion is that, and of course this is not personal financial advice, I'm kind of addressing you as an entire group here of people. And so I'm just telling you what I'm doing personally. I'm putting a gooder amount, I don't know if gooder is a word, but a gooder amount, an amount more than I normally do into cryptocurrencies, and specifically XRP and Bitcoin. And the reason for that is if we do have negative interest rates, just think about this for a second. There's so much to discuss on that. We are currently like 2.25% on the short-term Fed fund rate. And we came down. We got a 0.25% cut. If they come down another 0.25%, we're at 2%, and they're even talking about a 0.5% cut in September this month.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, then we're going to be below 2%. And if we get any type of recession, the average recession is about 6 basis points. So you really need about 6 basis points room. Then we're definitely going to go negative. And it's not just a matter of putting your money in the bank and then getting less out at the end of the year. It's a matter of that may be and from what I've read is that there's a huge and growing interest in large amounts of money going into bonds, even though they are negative, because at least they're going to get something back. And that is the real fear. The real fear is that there's going to be a decline in your currency, your currency. So the yuan is being devalued very, very sharply. And of course, China is manipulating their currency in order to create more favorable exports for themselves. And every other country is trying to do the same thing. The United States has the highest currency. Basically, I mean, they're railing against, I mean, the United States dollar is up against almost every single currency in the world. And that makes it very hard for us to export. And so President Trump is calling for this. So he's really, really trying to solve the issue of other countries devaluing their currencies against the United States dollar. The United States dollar is the reserve currency. But you have this issue with everybody else devaluing their currency to get a better exports, to have better export rate than the United States. It makes it very difficult for the United States to export goods to other countries because they're so expensive. It makes them much more expensive in that country. And so it hurts U.S. businesses. Now, there's a lot of theories going around about how the United States is going to solve this issue. And one of them is that and I don't know if you heard this, but while you were gone, Dan, the Bank of England governor, Mark Carney, who is going to be the new president or director of the IMF, International Monetary Fund, said after the Jackson Hole summit with all the central bankers that he wants a world reserve digital currency. And there's a lot of rumors going around that it could be XRP.
Very interesting, that especially the role that he's going to be filling next as well.
Exactly. Why would he come out and say there is a need for a digital world currency just prior, while he's still governor of the Bank of England, just prior to him leaving for the IMF? And the interesting thing about that is that Trump didn't tweet a thing about it. He didn't fight with the guy.
Yeah, we didn't know that was possible.
Yeah. So, I mean, why would Trump stay silent on that issue when he's calling? So basically what he said, Carney said, was that, hey, you know what, the U.S. dollar is the reserve currency, but the United States is suffering because of it. And so what we really need is a single currency, a world currency which is obviously going to be a digital currency of some sort, to level the playing field with all of these other countries.
Well, and we've heard this for years, right? Even before crypto came out, as they always wanted to have the euro take over to be the world reserve or something else, or someone make a new currency that would be the new world reserve, right? Ever since it's been us, because we have so much control, the prices of oil over the last few decades, everything's with the US dollar being the reserve, and they wanted to change that. So I think now with the advent of crypto and digital capabilities and blockchain in itself, that's now obviously going to be the new ability to do that versus a paper or a regular fiat.
Exactly. Well, the SDR, which is the special drawing rights of the IMF, is a basket of currencies that is used in case of emergencies if a country needs, some assistance. And a lot of people were thinking, well, maybe they're going to add a digital currency to the SDR, and that's a possibility too. But being the reserve currency of the world, has a lot of there's a lot of problems with that for the country that has the world reserve currency because of they're constantly running deficits.
Right, exactly. And that's a big thing. I was just catching up on a few things last night, actually, where I was reviewing a lot of that. It's like, yeah, people don't think about it like that. It's like, if the U.S. paid off all their debt and we had nothing, it wouldn't work, actually, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there has to be debt with some type of value.
That's right. That's exactly right. So there's a great deal of speculation going on, and there's a couple of reasons why most people think XRP is going to be at least in that mix of a world reserve currency, if not the world reserve currency. Because number one, it is so far advanced of other cryptocurrency projects. They're about to close, I think it's within the next 10 or 15 days, over 50, I think it's 50 million, or it might even be billion, I don't know, maybe 50 million ledger transactions closed without an issue.
Wow.
100% success. 50 million transactions closed. So when you think about the scalability issues, like it can do up to 50,000 transactions per second, which is above Visa. I think Visa can do close to that, but it's higher than Visa. Scalability, decentralization. I mean, they have nodes all over the world. They have, even the SEC said they're going to run a node for XRP ledgers. We have central banks that are running nodes. We have private institutions. We have universities. Microsoft is running a node. It's fast, it's scalable, and it's actually nearly perfect in its transactions. So if you look at all of the other digital currencies, if you look at Ethereum has a real problem right now scaling because their blockchain is nearly full and it's slowing down the network to a crawl. Bitcoin can take up to 4 hours to settle a transaction on their blockchain. And their Lightning Network, which is supposed to solve that issue, is experiencing some problems. Very slow, costly, so it's not quite there yet. One of the things that was kind of interesting that happened over the past week was that about 300,000 Ethereum were transacted on the XRP ledger. So the XRP ledger can actually transact in Ethereum, Bitcoin, and other digital currencies. And basically it's an IOU system. So you put it on you can actually do the transaction as long as you set up a trust line with another entity. and you can send your Ethereum directly over the XRP ledger. And the reason they would do that is because it's a lot faster than sending it through the Ethereum blockchain.
Sure. Yeah. And that's a huge thing too, right? Just the interoperability. It doesn't matter what crypto is.
Mm-hmm. That is absolutely true. Isham asked, Dan, what was that the exchange you used for your crypto purchase of XRP a few weeks ago, Bitstamp, not Coinbase?
It is. Yes, I buy mine on Bitstamp, Isham. I have an account that I use there. For anyone that had like a Binance account, if you haven't already, they're going to force you to close it in the U.S. I haven't read the latest and greatest on it, but I know I did have one. I never did anything, so I just disabled mine. But yes, I do buy my crypto via Bitstamp, Isham, and then I transfer it to a cold storage Nano S, so I don't keep it on their wallet, even though they've never had a problem or nothing recently. That's exactly what I do.
Yep, and the cold storage, that is the correct website for the ledgers, ledger.fr. Yes, that is correct. They are a French company. One of the things that you don't want to do is buy a used one, or anyone actually on eBay.
Amazon or anybody else. Exactly.
Sell a used one. The reason for that is somebody could tamper with it, and so you don't want to do that. You want to buy it factory direct from ledger.fr and get those. Even Amazon, I wouldn't trust Amazon to buy one on.
It is very simple, Isham. It's literally a withdrawal, and you send it to your cold storage wallet address. It's very simple.
Yep. There's something called Ledger Live, which is a lightweight computer program that sits on your computer. And when you have your ledger plugged into it and you enter your passcode, it will automatically, you just walk through the process of either receiving or sending XRP. Very, very easy. Yep, very easy indeed.
Dave, do you want to mention some of the other places that you participate in?
Yeah, you guys, if you have not followed me on Twitter, I have my handle is Cryptopolis. Let me see if I spell it correctly. Yeah, there we go. It's Cryptopolis_X on Twitter. If you guys are interested in cryptocurrency and things like that, you can follow me on Twitter. I think I got that right. No, I did not. Hold on a second. I have to actually look it up.
We wouldn't call it a secret hideout, Isham. There's just so many things that are going on in this world that we try to at least keep people connected to. If they're interested, right, how we do it.
Yeah, that is right then. Yeah, actually, the reason that I started doing stuff on Twitter was because the news was breaking very, very quickly, and it was easy to get information on there. I've only been on Twitter for like maybe, I don't know, 4 months, and I have close to 5,000 followers at this point. I do end up posting quite a bit of stuff there for free. There's no charge on that. Also, if you guys are not aware, if you follow me on Twitter, we just came out with a dashboard for XRP, which is absolutely free. You guys can go get it there. We use the algorithms, a lot of the algorithms that we use for the markets, the stock markets, not all of them, just a few. And we put it into a dashboard that you can get at that link. You guys can check that out. If you want to click on that and bring it up, there you go. So what we did was we took the dashboard concept that we've been using for the markets, and we put it into and then we used some of the algorithms that we do for the stock market and put it and applied it to XRP. And so all of the data is there. You can actually download the data. We have just a couple of different indicators on there, not a lot. Volatility is one. Our long-term index is one. And then we do the price distribution bell curve. It's basically the bell curve that we use in the spreadsheets. Basically the same algorithm. So you guys can kind of take a look at that, and that is free. Now, there's a couple of guys I highly recommend if you are interested in the cryptocurrency space and you're interested in XRP. There's one guy that I really like. His name is Backup Bradley. And I think if you search on YouTube for his name is Brad Kimes. I think either one works. That's his handle is Backup Bradley. Both on Twitter, but on YouTube especially. If you go to YouTube and look up his name, you'll see his videos. He does 2 live streams a day, and he's really good. The guy is really into XRP. He knows his stuff really, really well. And he has some great guests. He had a guest on last night. I don't know did you catch the stream last night?
I did.
Did you?
Yep.
Yeah. He had this guy. His name is Mickey B, and he does some really deep research into the financial sector, especially as it relates to the ILP and XRP in general. And it was a very good stream. Great stream. Yep, there he is, right there.
He's live right now, twice a day, like Dave said.
Yep, he's live. Yep, he doesn't do just normal videos. He does live streams. And so he'll do one in the morning typically, and then he'll do one late at night, Eastern time, anywhere between 8 and 10 p.m. Yes, he is live right now. So yeah, if you guys want to listen in on him, he's very, very good. I like what he's saying a lot. He probably offers the most balanced view about XRP and the most factual view about XRP in the community. So definitely check him out.
Andre asks, is it possible to trade XRP futures the same way as others? Completely different.
Yeah, there's no XRP futures in the United States, but there are XRP futures in other countries, and I'm not sure where. I think it's in the Eurozone someplace.
I'll throw in there, personally, Andre, the way that I look at crypto, it's not a trading thing like I do any of the other futures contracts that we do. This is literally one of those, again, not a personal advisor. This is Dan's personal view based on research I've done. This is a buy and hold thing. This is, I'm investing in this, putting it into cold storage. I'm not trading it tomorrow. I'm not trading it next week. I'm waiting for it to be the standards to change and digital currency to change and crypto to take off to be the monetary normal and how the world operates. Whereas you things see trading at 26 cents will be dollars, if not tens, hundreds, or one day thousands of dollars potentially. So it's not something that I personally trade. I'm not getting in and out. I'm not trading these moves. I'm seeing this at 26 cents. I'm saying I'm buying more of this. It's on sale. And I'm waiting and I'm holding it. And maybe I'll cash out some if it moves to $1 just to break even on whatever I've invested in it, and then hold the rest for years and do things with family. This is potentially, life-changing things for people. I'm not trying to hype anything up, guys, but this is one of the things that does have very rare moments in history that you have an opportunity to do something like this.
Yeah, when you think about this, I do the exact same thing. I'm not trading XRP. My wife, as you guys watched the past videos, was trading Bitcoin. She'll probably continue to do that. She's doing really well. Although the platform that we're using has lost their New York State bit license, so we don't trade on it anymore. But she's waiting for one of the exchanges to come out. New York Stock Exchange, the owners of the New York Stock Exchange, ICE, is opening up Bakkt. If you guys haven't heard about that yet, it's BAKKT.com, I believe. And they're going to be opening up on September 23rd with Bitcoin futures. Eventually, I think they're going to add XRP. So we're going to have XRP futures eventually, but they're starting just with Bitcoin, I believe, but we don't have a whole lot of details. They may come out and say, hey, look, we're going to do Bitcoin futures, XRP futures, Ethereum futures, Litecoin futures, or whatever. Eventually, I think they're going to add up to maybe 60 different futures contracts. One of the things that makes this different, different than the CME, which is doing Bitcoin futures right now, you can trade Bitcoin futures. But Bakkt, what they're doing is and the reason they call them Bakkt, B-A-K-K-T, is that they have actual Bitcoins in their cold storage to back up every single one of the futures contracts that they're issuing. And they're going to have two different futures contracts, a daily. So, you can trade the daily, and then whatever the price is at the end of the day, it gets settled into a physical Bitcoin contract. So you can actually take delivery of that Bitcoin. They're also doing monthly. So they're doing monthly futures and they're doing daily futures. This is going to, I believe, be a watershed moment in the cryptocurrency space that we're going to look back on probably 5 years from now and say, oh my God, I wish I paid attention to this when it happened, because this is going to change the face of cryptocurrency. It legitimizes it, it makes it mainstream, and it allows institutional investors and large and accredited investors to get into this space in a very easy way, with the assurance that it's backed by the New York Stock Exchange. And so you have a lot of confidence in the system. You have a lot of confidence in what they're doing, and it's going to be, I think, it's going to be looked back on as probably one of the larger milestones in the cryptocurrency space development. So if you guys haven't checked this out, go check it out. I'm a similar mind as Dan. I do not trade. I like to hold the stuff. So I'm buying XRP to hold for the long term. I'm buying Bitcoin, even though my wife trades a little bit of it. We are also buying to hold it for a long term. Those are the only two cryptocurrencies that I'm involved in purchasing. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I think a lot of other projects, as good as they are, just are not as well developed and don't have, I think Bitcoin, only because it has the brand name. I mean, it's synonymous with cryptocurrencies, and that's why a lot of, big organizations and the New York Stock Exchange, and, they're focused on that. XRP, because they are so far ahead in development than any other cryptocurrencies for utility usage. So there's so much more to XRP than we could probably get into in the short time that we have. It's not only great for very quick settlement of cross-border payments, but they're also very closely tied with Securitize. Securitize does settlement of stock trades in the DTCC, which is the clearinghouse for stock trades. And they're looking at DLT, distributed ledger technology, and the use of XRP as a settlement mechanism for regular stock trades. So that is huge. It's just massive. There's just a massive amount of utility that XRP can be used for. There's not a whole lot of, and if you guys didn't know, did we talk about MGI at all the last time you were here?
No.
Okay, so bring up a chart of MGI. About a month ago, or maybe more now, Ripple, the company that has a great deal of the XRP that was gifted to them by OpenCoin, was created, made a $30 million, actually up to $50 million. I think they initially invested like $20 million, and they have another $30 million that they can invest in. MoneyGram International. MoneyGram International had fallen on some really hard times. Do you have a chart there someplace?
Yeah, it's coming.
Okay. So what happened was, get a really, really long-term chart. See if you can go back to a daily or a monthly. Yeah, do a monthly. Is that as far? Oh, okay. Yeah, there you go. There was the high. Before the financial crisis, it hit a high of $296.48. MoneyGram is the second largest money transmitting company in the world, and just behind Western Union. Western Union is number one. MoneyGram is number two. MoneyGram, back in 2006 and 2007, as you can see there, declined sharply, very, very sharply, from that 296 level all the way down to about, what was that, $3, $4, $5, $6. And the reason for that was that they had over $1 billion in CDOs, which were the bad debt from the housing market.
Yeah, the swaps and everything that they call them. Yep.
The swaps, the collateralized debt obligations, the all of those bad mortgages that were, fraudulently written based on zero income verifications of people who took out mortgages during the financial crisis. They invested about $1 billion of their money into those, probably on the advice of Goldman Sachs or something. I don't know.
Bear Stearns.
Or Bear Stearns, maybe. I don't know. But they basically went to zero. So they lost a ton of money. You can see that the earnings down there, I think at the bottom was minus $14 a share. It was the worst one. It was minus, just to your left a little bit, I think was the bottom was minus $14 a share.
Yeah, 14.18.
Yep. Now, if you go to a daily, now I hit a low of $1.33 just recently, just a few weeks ago. And what happened was Ripple, the company, just in the middle of June there, said, hey, we're going to invest up to $50 million in MoneyGram. We're going to buy 10% of it. And they are going to use XRP in their payment flows for all their cross-border payments. Now, MoneyGram is still a gigantic company. They have 31,000 offices around the world. And they are now just starting to deploy XRP in their settlement process. Ripple paid, I believe, $4.10 a share, which at the time when they made this deal in the beginning of June was a premium of over $3 to the stock price. And immediately, of course, the stock price shot up, had a little bit of a retracement, and I started buying right around the $2.33 level. So just in the beginning of July, it was like $2.33. I started buying it, dipped down below $2. I kept buying it, and I kept buying it, and I kept buying it for most of July. And now it's just been going up almost every single day. And so what it's doing is really, it's speaking volumes about the company, the use of XRP. There's a fantastic, they just did their earnings call. I think is when's that, July 29th there? They have that little thing there. Yeah. Or August 1st, I guess, either the 31st or the 1st. And the CEO was on the call, and you can find it online, but he was just so enthusiastic about their partnership with Ripple and the use of XRP. Mm-hmm. So the deal is that MoneyGram is going to be using XRP for settlements in all their cross-border payments. And as you can see, the stock keeps going up. Now it's gone up a lot. It's gone it's more than doubled in price from $2 to $4.47 just in the last couple of weeks. So I'm expecting some sort of a pullback here a little bit maybe, but we'll see. I mean, from my point of view, this on the big picture for MoneyGram for me is that what used to be $2.96, or I'm sorry, $296.
Right.
And they survived. Now think about this for a second. They survived $1 billion loss, total loss. Their business model is so good that and the company survived that loss. Not only that, but we went through the financial crisis. So they had the $1 billion loss during a financial crisis, and they survived it.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's insane. And now they have this deal with Ripple that's really going to, I think, not only improve their bottom line because their cost savings are going to be incredible, but their business model is very, very strong. And Ripple, the company, is not going to do an investment like this unless they've really vetted the management and the business model of the company. There's no way. And Ripple is one of the best and well-managed companies in the world. So think about that. It's not financial advice, but I'm just saying that personally, I like them a lot. I think and I'm also using them as a bellwether for the health of XRP and the ecosystem that's being developed. So a lot of good stuff there, guys. I just think that there's a lot more to XRP and the XRP ledger and the DLT technology than meets the eye, than they're letting on. Ripple has a number of non-disclosure agreements and they can't really say a whole lot about what they're doing. But there was a patent, I think we went over this a couple weeks ago. There was a patent that came out from Bank of America showing XRP and the XRP ledger and Ripple technology being used in Bank of America's payment flows. Andre says, how do you compare all this to gold? Well, I want you to think about this for a second. I think there's always a place for gold. I think silver actually is probably going to outperform gold. If we do have some sort of a recession. I just need a drink of water here. But
when we have it?
What's that?
You mean when, not if?
Yes, when, exactly. See, the thing is that we've had the inverted yield curve now happening for the last few weeks. And that has, since the 1960s, it has called every single recession that we've had. Typically, when the curve inverts, 6 to 18 months or 24 months later, some place in that time period, there is going to be a recession. We don't know how bad it's going to be, but there's going to be a recession of some kind. So gold is always going to perform well during a recession, I think. I think a lot of people do, gravitate towards gold when there's economic problems. I think silver is probably going to be stronger than gold, only because the gold silver ratio over history and the way the current gold silver ratio right now has been so wide that silver is probably going to catch up fairly well to gold. I think gold is going to continue to go up. But the way I compare cryptocurrency to gold, if you actually bring up a chart of silver, if you have it, you can see silver has really, really been doing nicely. Yeah, very, very nice. Yeah, going back to
this part from something else. Just look at the top.
Yep, and look at look at today, another gap up. Beautiful, yeah. So the way I look at it is, number one, in a financial crisis, in from my point of view, we've had a lot of inflationary recessions. In my opinion, this is going to be a deflationary recession. And the reason for that is that all the signs point to a deflationary recession because of lower interest rates. If interest rates are dropping, that indicates not inflation, because what happens during inflation times is interest rates go a lot higher in order to quell in order to kind of get a handle on the inflation. If inflation starts to run away too high, central banks have to raise interest rates in order to cool down the economy. Well, that's not the case in this. Now we're getting negative interest rates. We're getting lower interest rates because they're trying to stimulate the economy. They're trying to make cash less attractive to debt. They want people to borrow money. So they're lowering interest rates in order to stimulate accumulation of debt so that you could spend it to buy houses and cars and businesses and, all this other stuff. So I believe that cryptocurrencies, because of the fixed amount that they have been issued for them, there's only 21 million possible Bitcoins, and some people say that as many as half of the Bitcoins that originally were created or are going to be mined have been lost.
Yep.
So maybe there's only 10 or 15 million or less Bitcoins. That's one reason to own a little bit of Bitcoin at least. XRP has 100 billion XRP. There's not going to be any more. It's not. They're done. There's not. You can't mine XRP. You can't make any more XRP. That's all there is. And with billions of people on the planet, I think everybody gets like maybe 2, or not even 1. I think. So and it's a fixed supply. So it will never inflate. And when you compare it to gold, I mean, you never know. There might be reserves of gold that haven't been found yet, so they could find a lot of gold. But in a deflationary recession, the prices of everything comes down. We see the signs for deflationary depression with lowering interest rates. And if that should happen, gold, which is used in a lot of jewelry, is a retail purchase. And so if we do get a recession, people are going to pull back on their buying, and we're probably not going to see gold go up as much as cryptocurrencies, only because people are not going to be spending money on jewelry, on gold jewelry. The other way I compare gold to cryptocurrency in a deflationary depression or recession, hopefully it's not a depression, but if I compare it to gold, cryptocurrency is very easy to transport. So people who are in Venezuela or Argentina are using Bitcoin, are buying Bitcoin like crazy, because they can stick a little Ledger Nano S in their pocket, looks like a thumb drive, and they can carry it any place in the world. So if they do want to leave their country and try to find someplace better to live, then all they have to do is stick that in their pocket. They could put millions on a Ledger Nano S, stick it in their pocket, take it anywhere in the world. You can't do that with gold. I mean, if you took a couple $1 million in gold with you, I think the authorities would probably go, I don't think we're going to let you go.
Yeah, try and do that with cash and got to declare it.
Yeah,
a lot more feasibility with this.
Oh yeah. So in times in which we have a recession or even a depression, it's going to be a lot easier to move stuff around than the old days. My wife, I don't know if you guys know, but my wife was from Cambodia, and she lived through the killing fields, 1970 to 1975. Her family was basically murdered. Her father was murdered. Her father was an architect. And during the killing fields, they killed just about everybody of any kind of education at all. And they had, she told me that they had buried gold, silver, diamonds, pearls, all kinds of stuff on their property when Pol Pot's regime came into power, and but after they left, I guess people went and dug up land from all these different wealthy people's houses, and they found it, I guess. But so you can't. I mean, in really really tough times, you can't move this stuff.
Right.
Really hard to move. The only thing that survived from her mother was a sterling silver belt that she wore. And she wrapped it up very carefully so nobody could see it. That's the only thing that she has from her family. So I mean, they had a tough time, very tough time there. So there's no declaring of crypto for now, not that I know of.
Yeah, when I flew to Mexico earlier, there was nothing about it. So yeah, they're not even asking. Then what are they going to do? Frisk everybody for a drive and look at it? So that's not feasible either. It's like, yeah, try and open this thing up. It requires 8-digit passcode.
Right. And even then, let's say you wanted to escape the country and you didn't want to have anything on you at all. Well, you could, I mean, if you have a good exchange like Bakkt or something like that, all you have to do is upload it to Bakkt. And,
right. True.
You don't even need the ledger, and then you could take the ledger with you. But if they confiscate it, who cares?
Got nothing on it, right?
Yeah, go get another one, another country, download it from your exchange, and put it on the new Nano.
Exactly.
Yep.
And on that note, I might have to call it because it's the first day of school here, so I got to bring one over to high school.
Oh, nice.
He got to start late today because he's not a freshman, so I got to roll out to bring him over to his first day. And Isham, we'll probably have to save yours for the next session.
All right, guys.
I had a quick question there for making different signals on.
Yep, save that. We'll save that for Thursday.
Perfect.
All right, Dan. Everybody have a great day. We'll talk to you again on Thursday. And have a good one.
Sounds good, Dave. Good to be back, and talk to you again soon.
Yep, take care. Bye.
You guys.